All right, welcome. Today we're going to learn how to do 2-5-1 movements to every chord in the key of D flat. And we're going to break it down. Let me switch over to my keyboard camera here. Kind of one note at a time. So if you're not familiar with what a 2-5-1 is, just a quick recap. A way to set up a kind of tension and release when going between any two chords is to do a 2-5-1. Let me give a quick demo. Let's say I'm in the key of D flat, right? And I have a chord progression that's 1-4. Right? And there's not a lot of tension there, it's just, right? So one way to spice that up might be there's a little bit more flavor to it, right? So we're going to talk about how to begin learning how to do this stuff. So in the key of D flat, the most common 2-5-1 you're going to run into is to resolve to D flat itself. And so to set up a 2-5-1, you're going to do the 2 chord. So if this is 1, then this is 2, right? And then the 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 1 chord. So let's just start out by doing the bass notes, right? So here's my 1 chord, and then 2, 5, one more time, 2, last time, 1, 2, 5, 1. We'll worry about the right hand in a little bit. Let's go ahead and apply that principle to every single note of the scale. So even if I'm still in the key of D flat, if I wanted to do a 2-5 to E flat, right, which would be minor, right, this sound. If I wanted to throw in a little 2-5 action before getting to the E flat, then I'm going to need to do the same thing. E flat is going to be our 1, just for a moment, and then that would make F our 2, and then B flat our 5, right? So we have 1 chord, then let's try that together. 1 chord, 1, 2, 5, 2, 2 in the key of D flat. One more time. 1, F, flat, E flat. Let's do it once more. 1, here comes. 2, 5, 1, E flat minor. Make sense? And we can apply this, right, to every single note of the scale. Let's go ahead and do that. So D flat, E flat. Let's say I want to go to F. Now this touches on something I hadn't quite got to yet, but we need a major second up. If you notice, the 2 chord is always a whole step up, right? Or E flat to F, it's always a whole step. So even though D flat major has a G flat in it, right? We want to use a G natural here. So we're trying to resolve to F. So the 2 chord, again, it's going to be that G natural, and then the 5 chord is going to be what? C, and then we'll resolve it by going to the F. So we're going to start on D flat just like we did before, and then we're going to add that G, C, F, and your ear should pick up on a little bit of resolution, right? Like where's that G, C, and F, where's that G, C going? It should resolve to the F. Let's try it. So ready, and D flat, and then G, C, F. Let's do it again. D flat, and D flat, G, C, F. Let's try it one more time. D flat, G, C, F. Great. Now let's keep going up the scale. So this is the one we started out with as an example, right? So if I want to resolve to a G flat, which is the 4 chord in D flat major, then my 2 is going to be right here, and then my 5 is going to be where? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. So I'm going to have a kind of action, right? And we're going to, so 2, 5, 1. Now we're going to start on the D flat, the key that we're in, right? And then we're going to do that 2, 5. Here we go. Ready, and D flat, one more time, and A flat, D flat, G flat. Let's keep going. So now we're on A flat. So the 2 would be where? There. The 5 would be where? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here. So now, that's our kind of baseline 2-5 resolution. Let's try it out. So we're going to start on D flat. Then we're going to go ba-do-dum. Here we go. Ready? And do ba-do-dum. One more time. And do ba-do-dum. Let's go ahead and do one more. Getting low on time here. So that's the one we just did. Now we're doing the 6th chord, right? So the 2 would be where? Here. And the 5 would be where? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a C is the 2, and then F is the 5, and then it will resolve to the 1, our B flat chord. Okay? So, make sense? Let's start on D flat. Here we go. Ready? And D flat, C, F, B flat. Let's do it 2 more times. Again. Great. So now we get to the part that's a little bit more difficult. So if you notice when I was doing this stuff earlier, right, a lot of stuff is happening in the right hand. We're going to build it up. Actually, let me show you the basic template we're going to do, and then we'll build it up one note at a time from there. What we're going to do, so we're going to, let me give you a concrete example. We're in the key of D flat, right? Let's do a 2-5 in D flat. This is the one that sounds like this, right? Right? So here's the concrete example. If our left hand is doing this, I want our right hand to play the minor 7. So this is a minor 7th, right? Here's an octave, major 7th, minor 7th. It's a whole step down from the root. And the minor 3rd, which is 3 half steps up from the root. Okay? That'll be true regardless of what note, what key we're doing this in. Minor 7th, minor 3rd. So this is a very important shape. Try to commit this to memory, okay? This, and then when we go down to the 5 chord, that minor 7th is going to go down a half step. And then when you go up to the 1, the top note is going to go down by a half step. I'm going to do that one more time. Try to commit this to memory because we're going to do this a whole bunch. Now, one caveat I'll mention is that if you notice this last chord, if you know your theory, this is a major 7th, right? Here's the octave, major 7th. And this is a major 3rd, which is 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, sorry. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes we're going to resolve to a minor chord, in which case these are both going to go down by a half step. Like that. That would look like this. And then now, this bottom one is going to go down by a half step, and this top one's going to go down by a whole step. So pause the video, watch it a couple times if you need to. These are the 2 shapes. Major, which is that top note just going a half step down, and then minor, where they both move. Like that. Alright, so let's apply that to a couple notes, just for some practice here. So we already did it on D flat, right? So let's go ahead and do it on E flat. Okay? In the key of D flat, is the E flat chord major or minor? That's going to determine how we resolve it, right? Like which one we need. Do we need the minor one, or do we need the major one? Well, if I play an E flat chord, it's minor. Major would look like that. So we need that minor 2-5-1 pattern that I just demoed earlier. So remember this? Right? There it is. That's the pattern. Right? So let's apply that formula to this pattern. So if I have an F in the bass, I need the minor 7th and the minor 3rd. And then when I go down to the B flat in the bass, what did we say happens? That minor 7th is going to go down by a half step. And then because this one is the minor one, both these fingers in the right hand are going to move like that. That's a beautiful sound. So if you put that all together, I'm going to do that one more time, nice and slow. Make sense? So if we put that in context here, D flat major chord. Oops, sorry, I'm playing the wrong one. D flat major, and then now we have the F chord. We can do that one more time, and then you should pause the video and try it yourself. So D flat major, and then now we have the F, B flat 7, E flat minor. Go ahead and take a minute or two and just kind of try that yourself. You can do the octaves on the right hand or just play one note. Doesn't matter too much for this exercise. All right, now let's do it on a major chord in D flat. Let's go to the 4 chord, which is the one I started with at the beginning of this lesson. So 4 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the G flat major chord, right? So we're going to do a 2, 5, 1 to this G flat major chord. So if you remember our pattern from earlier, the bass line. So the 2 is here, the 1 is here, and then the 4 is here. Well, sorry, it's the 1 chord. 2, 5, 1, and this 1 chord, right, is the 4 chord relative to D flat. Okay, so let's apply our same pattern, right? Actually, we have to figure out if it's major or minor. Can you tell? It's major. That would be minor. So we need the major 2, 5, 1 pattern, which is where it's just the top note, right, goes down by a half step here. All right, so let's apply that pattern to the 2, 5, 1. So the 2, okay, we need a minor 7th, and we need a minor 3rd, right? And then left hand goes to D flat. That minor 7th goes down a half step. And then when you go up to G flat, that top note is just going to go down by a half step. That's the major pattern, right? There you go. So if I put that in context here, right, so this is just 1 to 4. Now I'm going to throw in the 2, 5 that we just did. One more time. One more time. So much more flavor and so much more movement in the chord progression. So it takes a lot of work, but just practice applying that formula to every single note in the key of D flat.